Excellent. We're just in SoCal.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Yeah.
that's right, because Kat mentioned the fires. I hope everything's okay in your area.
Well, we both got evacuated, but we didn't get burned down, so we're good.
That's good. Yeah,
Yeah.
scary.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very scary. Not good at evacuating.
Yeah.
All right. And Robin, how do you pronounce your last name so we get it right?
Sure, it's Korak.
Korak. Okay.
Yes.
And how
Great.
do you want to be introduced? Author, witch, spiritual practitioner?
Um, author and witch would be fine.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
Great. And then we're coming out next week. So if you have, no, sorry, the following week.
Okay.
So if you have anything timely that we should make sure to bring up, let us know.
So,
I will. I'm
so
doing
that
some.
was the question. So we air March 1st.
Yeah, that.
That's perfect because I'm doing a couple of conferences in March. So.
Yay, good. Well, I will
Yeah.
certainly ask you about them. So.
Okay.
Great. Well, have a great time.
Thank you.
All right. Start when ready.
Okay. Sip water.
Oh, now is also a good time if you don't have a beverage to grab one.
Oh, I do. Thank you, though.
Oh,
Okay.
good. Patty's got a fire hydrant full of stuff.
Thank
All right. Have fun.
Yeah.
you.
Hey, everybody, this is Patty. Welcome to the Witching Hour. Yes, that hour of the day, whenever you tune in, when the veil is thin and magic happens everywhere. Well, I have some dreamy magic for you today. She is an author. She is a witch. She has a fabulous new book out on dream magic. Welcome, Robin Korak. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me here. I'm excited to be here.
I am thrilled. I in dreams and dream magic, and this really is comprehensive, I must say. It got science in it. It's coming from the crafty perspective, and it's crazy. So, and literally, it says change your reality through the liminal world of sleep. So, if anybody hasn't got this yet, they need to. But tell anybody a little bit. Where did this come from?
Sure. So I've always been fascinated with dreams. And I remember, and I talk about this in the introduction, when I was about 7 years old, my cousins and my sister and I were kind of hunkered away in my grandmother's house. My grandfather was in the hospital. And I had this dream that my grandfather came to me. And if you knew my grandfather, this is perfect. He was wearing his trademark fedora. And he was giggling because he had a hospital gown on and it wasn't covered in the back. So he's holding it together, giggling, which is totally his personality. And he came to say goodbye to me. And then when he left he went back in the limo and they pulled away and took him out. And after I woke up, this dream was still with me. And our parents came in and told us that my grandfather had passed away. And so that was the first time I really had a dream experience that was like super memorable to me. And I didn't really delve into it because, to be honest, it kind of scared me a little bit. But as I got older, I learned more about dreams. They just always fascinated me. And I finally just embraced it and started tracking my dreams. And it's just been a passion I've had since a child.
That's beautiful. Well, this really is kind of a practical guide to things. How do you see, like, readers, people get your book in integrating this into like their lives? How will this help them that they read this and now they understand their dreams a little bit?
Yes. So the cool thing, I think, is that we all sleep. And even if we don't remember our dreams, we all dream. So we have every day to practice this magic, which is wonderful. But I think for me, dream magic has been amazing in so many ways. I've had comfort from having visitations from loved ones. I've had knowledge that has come to me in dreams. I've had, lucid dreaming, which is both fun and can be very helpful in working out fears that we have during the day, but also shadow work. I think, our subconscious holds the key, I believe, to our shadow. And so the more we work with dreams, the more we can kind of keep that bridge between conscious and subconscious flowing to help us work out some of our challenges and some of our shadow issues that may be impacting us in our everyday life. So really, there's a lot of ways that dream magic can be helpful.
So do you teach people how to, like, okay, I want to lucid dream tonight, or I want to do some shadow work, or you give certain ways of setting things up or intentions along the way?
Yes, everything from incense recipes to guided meditations to different practices like the lucid dreaming, the things that you can do during the day to prime your mind. So that's all in this book.
Good. What is it, without giving away the book? So we want to get the book. What's a couple things just so people are going to go, I don't know what she's talking about. What does that mean? Is there a couple things you could get and give us?
Yeah, of course. So, like, one of the things that people a lot when I tell them about dream magic, I get this a lot. Well, I had this dream. What does it mean? And or I don't remember my dream. So I call it kind of the initial stages of dream work. And some tips for remembering your dreams. A lot of it is just putting your focus on it and tracking your dreams. I know it's not the sexiest advice ever, but it truly does work. If you're paying attention to your dreams and tracking them somehow, you will start to remember them. But the other thing I do is for me personally, universal dream dictionaries don't really work well for me. So one of the other ideas I have in here, things I have in here that I've heard feedback has been very helpful, is to suggest people keep their own stream of consciousness journal. And so just taking a few words like the word apple or the word book and writing down what immediately comes to mind for you. And this is what I do in workshops too, because I can ask somebody, what does apple mean to you? And one person will say, well, health, an apple a day keeps the doctor away. Another person has told me, well, my son bought me an apple tree for my birthday, so it means love. So you're creating your own personalized dream dictionary. And to me, you're learning the language of your subconscious. So that's another way to help understand and interpret your dreams. I could go on because there's all sorts of tips, but those are just two examples.
That's beautiful. Now I do some dream work too, not as extensive how you do, and work with people. And you mentioned water and baths and things, and I literally have a glass of water. I put intention in what I want to do into it. And still, with all my work and all my studies and practice and everything, my dream life still is not like it was when I was a child. When I was a child, it was, I could do lucid dreaming. I could control dreams. I did have lots of nightmares, stuff you talk about in your book, like you're being chased and you can't get away and you can't control certain things. I was the queen of that, whether it was a train or a bull, but I knew how to get out of dreams and I knew what were dreams.
Yeah.
Again, I had, long before I studied all this stuff, what do you think that is? Is something just innate in children, or was that just me?
Well, I think in general, not just dreams, but other kinds of abilities are more present in children because they haven't learned all the yucky stuff that society puts on us. So they're a little less conditioned, a little more open to the unknown. Right. And don't question as much as we do as adults. I think the other thing too is if you look at cultures where dreams are prominent. So like I can't remember which indigenous tribe it was, but there's an indigenous tribe where they all, and I talk about this in the book, they all get together every morning and they share their dreams. And if somebody had like a dream about having a fight with their neighbor, even if they're all good in real life, the tribe has them work it out. And so, but we in our society, dreams are not really given a lot of attention. There's no really strong practice of remembering your dreams. And so I think sometimes it just takes time and consistency to let some of the I don't know if you call it the adult cynic in us or whatever, or whatever it may be, to just kind of like start to fade away a little bit. So it can take time. And I think one of the things I tell people is like try to make it fun, try to make it like play, because when you're a kid, everything is play for the most part, right? The more you try to force it, the more you get frustrated. It ends up like one of those little finger traps where the harder you pull your fingers, the more stuck they get. So I think that's a lot of it. And so that's why I like the idea too of just approaching it with an open mind and playfulness and helping us get back to that inner child that, has no qualms about these types of things.
Beautiful. And I like that, working out and talking about it, especially in groups. That's something we really just don't do. I like also how you really combine science and spirituality, and you kind of delve into that in the book, which is great. How do you balance that? Do you balance in your life or in your practice? I mean, to me, they're crashing together every day with things.
Yeah, I think, for me, the process I use is helping to know or understand the science behind sleep gives me a foundation. I find that in magic in general, you have to have a strong desire. You have to state your intention, whatever that is, and you have to believe that it will work for it to be really powerful. And so in some ways, having the science foundation, the knowledge, helps with that belief part. It helps kind of validate, especially if you're a skeptic, helps kind of validate that. And also seeing that there's a lot of other cultures that really put an emphasis on this. There's something there. If all these other cultures for thousands and thousands of years ago felt like this was important, to me that adds to it too. But yeah, I mean, I'm definitely not a science person per se, but I do greatly respect the science as special. And I do think even though on the outward appearance, science and magic don't go together. I think they really do. We just haven't found all the science behind it yet.
Right. I say that too. Because I'm like in the paranormal world, my ghosty paranormal world,
Yeah,
and I've been seeing and doing and saying things forever. But now with technology stepping in, there's somebody again kind of proving that
yeah,
or showing it on a screen of some site what I'm experiencing or seeing, and it's just that much more confirmation. That's why I like it. I'm not the person to run that techie and science stuff, but again, it's a validation. It's
right,
really
right.
so but before this book, you are very established here in the pagan community. You've been doing this, a practitioner and a writer for a long time. How did your path, were you kind of born into this magical path or how did this come about for you?
No, I honestly don't know. I noticed with as I got older with some of my relatives that had a really strong sense of sight, but they didn't necessarily frame it as magic. I think they were called sensitives or things like that. One of my grandfathers would talk about when my grandmother died, seeing her in dreams and things like that. So I think there's maybe a little bit of intuition that is somewhat inherent in my family and certain parts of my family. But I also think, and I don't know for sure this, I have a rare medical condition. So as a child, I was sick a lot. So I spent a lot of time in my head, loved to read, and I was always drawn to myths and stories and magical things. And so finally, at a time when I became an adult, I really started to pursue that. And it also helped me to feel like, some of the dream experiences I was having, that I wasn't the only one that had these experiences. And so I just think as the older I got, the more confident I felt in pursuing a path. So I've been a practicing pagan for over 26 years. But I think in some ways I always had that part of me. I just didn't necessarily explore it.
That's beautiful. And you live in Washington State, which is a nice state.
Yes,
It's nature,
yes,
nature everywhere. So you get to
yes.
connect in. You get to really connect into things, which is great. So if somebody takes, is there practical applications that somebody can, okay, not have, we're working on how to do the dreams, we've taken a bath or we've done this or the other thing. How is that going to help them in their day to day? Now we've got to go through life in crazy
Yes.
2025, whether it's dream practices or just your own personal magical practice. Because like you said, we all create our own our own template of our own path and things.
So there's a couple of different things. I think once you start, practicing dream magic, once you start keeping a journal, and you start understanding the language of your subconscious, I think we find a lot of wisdom, inherent wisdom that we either don't know we have or we don't trust it. And I think that dream magic also helps you learn to trust your intuition and validate, especially if you're keeping a journal. And that was one of the things when I was in high school. I did a paper on dreams. That was in my psychology class, and I kept a journal, and I still have those journals. And it was really interesting to me because I go back months later and like, oh, wait, this happened. This makes sense now. So the more in tune you are with yourself, I think in the shadow work side of it, we all have demons that kind of, whether we realize it or not, impact our actions and behaviors. And so the more we start to recognize some of our shadow stuff and how that originated, we can start to overcome, some of those challenges. We can start to choose from a place of sovereignty, I guess. So a lot of that, the lucid dreaming for me is a really interesting way to work through, especially if you're someone that has nightmares. A lot of times nightmares are about confronting your fears, not always, but having the lucid dreaming and being able to change the nightmare or react. Or one of the things that I know another indigenous tribe would do is they would actually purposely try to practice lucid dreaming to confront whatever was coming after them in the dreams. And I think there's an empowerment in that, truly. So there's a lot of different ways that I can see this, happening.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, mind how when I was having my, again, very much nightmares, the falling off a cliff on a chain,
Oh wow, uh-huh.
and weird things like that. I knew, oh, it's a dream, and it was basically like an Olympic gymnastic routine I had to do, and I
Yeah,
knew it was literally like three somersaults, a handstand, go down and find a trash can that you go into a tunnel, and it was just dink it dink it
yeah,
dink dink, and I knew I had to do it. I don't know where that came from, but
right.
it again, and I have not figured out how to do that in adulthood yet. So what are some things that people can do to like learn to lucid dream?
Yeah, so one thing I do want to say about lucid dreaming that I didn't know when I first started is that you can, I want to preface this by saying you can be lucid dreaming. We think about it as being aware that you're in a dream. You can be aware that you're in a dream and not necessarily be able to control it yet. And so sometimes what happens is we realize, oh my gosh, we're in a dream. And then we get so excited emotionally that we snap out of the dream like that. So it can be really challenging at first to have like a very non emotional reaction. But one of the things that you can do is to, and this is pretty common, this is not new from me, it's Stephen LaBerge and a lot of other scientists that have studied this, is doing these little cues throughout the day to check your reality. So, for example, every time that I would look at a clock, I would ask myself, am I dreaming? And you can do things like sticking your finger through your hand or seeing if your hand will go through the wall, because in your daily life, obviously that's probably not going to happen, right? If it does, I want to know what you're doing, because that's a level of magic I haven't attained. But then what happens is the more you do it, the more your body and your mind get used to it. And so when you're in a dream and you see a clock, or you remember, am I dreaming? And you do this because you do it throughout the day, then you'll know. Like if your finger goes through your hand, or your hand goes through a wall, or the clock looks weird, you'll know you're in a lucid dream. But the other thing I always tell people too is, and this is again why keeping a dream journal in some way is important, is that if you have a particular pattern of dreaming, like I always have, it's horrible. I always have this dream where I arrive at Disneyland and it's like closing time. Or I go on a ride and it's horrible. It's not anything like the real ride. And I noticed that, and also airplanes. If I'm having a dream like that, I've had them so many times, I've tracked them that I'm like, oh, this is a dream. And then you can kick your mind into lucid dreaming. So that's another approach to it as well.
Okay, that's great. I love it. Disneyland.
Oh, it's so frustrating. Not ready to go on rides. They're like, sorry, we're closed. Yeah.
So how much do people, I don't know what your belief system or experience or anything like this, does past life stuff come into dream work? Because I have had that happen. Have you experienced anything like that or talk about that?
That's a really interesting question. I haven't talked about it in the book, but I think it's absolutely possible, because when we're dreaming, there are no parameters to reality like we have during our day. There's no, time can be non-linear. Visitations from loved ones who have been deceased. So there's no reason to me that happen in a dream. I think actually that's probably a great way to get information about past lives.
It got cut for a second. So just repeat that last little paragraph.
So I think that, there's absolutely no reason why people couldn't dream about past lives, because there's no parameters to reality like we have in the daytime. There's no, time is nonlinear. And if you can have visitation dreams from the underworld, to me, there's no reason you couldn't have dreams about past life. So I think that's an excellent way to recover that information.
Okay, I think that is great. Okay, anyway, you talk about it, what are your insights on, like, say, Persephone and Demeter? Because I know they're personal power and transformational things for you and your books, Persephone and Demeter.
Yeah.
Demeter, how does that relate to your practice of green dream magic or in your practice?
Yes. More so Persephone, but I always feel like if you're working with a deity, it's helpful to know their family tree too. So that's actually how I ended up writing about Demeter. But Persephone for me is very helpful because she is in some ways a psychopomp. She bridges the worlds of the underworld and, Olympus or Earth, depending on where she's at. And so she's very in contact with the underworld, the deceased. And so I work with her a lot, both to be able to communicate with those. And I think there's actually a meditation in my book that works with Persephone to communicate with our deceased loved ones, but also as a very protecting spirit when I'm doing this work as well. So I find that a lot of deities that are psychopomp deities or associated with the underworld are really good guides or allies in dream magic because they once called sleep the little death. There's definitely a lot of connections, right? So I tend to um, look for deities as guides who have that connection.
So what do you do about that? Say, okay, I think I need Persephone tonight. Do you set up a little altar area or work with stones or herbs or things like
Yes.
that? What do you?
There's a lot of ways to do it. I work with Persephone quite a bit, so she's always kind of there. I do have an altar to her and a shrine. So that's one way to do it. I do also recommend in the book people set up a dream altar somewhere near their bed if they can. It can be simple, it doesn't have to be huge. But for example, let's say you're not an you're a witch or pagan, but you're not out. You can create an altar to Persephone that is just a vase of dried flowers. Flowers are connected to her spring, but the fact that they're dried connects her to the underworld. Putting intention papers, what you want to dream about on that altar. I also have in the book the instructions for a dream doll, which is very simple, and you can put.
Tell us about that. Tell us about that.
Yeah,
I love
yeah.
my dolls coming out.
Yes, and so I am not the craftiest person, so I feel like if I can make one, anybody can make one. But basically, it started out as a project I was doing, not related to dreams specifically, but I'm in the Sisterhood of Avalon, so it was a project for that with the goddess Arianrhod. And Arianrhod is very connected to the night. She's associated with the Aurora Borealis. She has a castle in the sky. So I just took fabrics that looked like the night sky to me. But inside, and I just sewed, I did a basic outline, sewed them. But inside, what I put in there was, in addition to just cotton balls, I put in essential oils that connected me to Arianrhod and to dream magic, and herbs like mugwort or blue lotus. Put those in there, and I sewed her back up, and she sits next to me on my nightstand or on my dream altar. And I just there's like something for me about that tangible connection. Now, if
Yes.
I'd been smart, I probably would have made a pocket on the back to just slip intention stuff into, but you can pin it to her or whatever.
Right.
But for me, it helps create that bridge, that barrier between the two, and it helps set the intention. And I'm actively asking for her as an ally. But it something about for me having the tangible is very helpful. And so I work with my dream doll a lot. And there are instructions in here on how to do it. It's pretty simple.
Oh, that's beautiful. No, I agree. Because again, I do have a book, not just haunted doll, on but puppets coming out, and I
Yes.
didn't talk about dream puppets. I
That's
guess that'll
right.
be in my second version on that. But I'll just send them to you. I think that's beautiful because
That's
again, something
beautiful.
tangible, and with the herbs that are in it, with everything
Yes.
that's in it, is a part of what you. Oh, look at it! It's just popping up on the screen.
Oh, I'm so excited. I can't wait to
Yeah,
get that. I love that.
launches in June. People can pre-order now. So you just mentioned the Sisterhood of Avalon. What is that? Can you tell people about
So
what?
the Sisterhood of Avalon is a international Celtic women's mysteries group, and it focuses primarily on the Welsh goddesses in what's called the Mabinogion, which is a medieval tales. And Jenna Telendrew is the one who's also an author. She started the organization, but it's women from all over the world who come together to learn about these, Avalon, the whole idea of Avalon and where did it exist, and working with really what it's focused around is sovereignty, our personal sovereignty. So not sovereignty does not mean power over another, it means power over ourselves. So how do we heal ourselves so that we can be of greater service to our deities, our community, our sisters and brothers. So I've been a member since 2002, I believe.
Wow.
So yeah, it's just for me, it's been a wonderful organization to be a part of.
Wow. And it sounds like it's something that's needed maybe more now than it
Yeah.
with everything going on, power
Yeah.
grabs and things like that. That is
Yes.
beautiful. We need a little sovereignty and self-power.
I agree.
This is amazing. Again, you guys have to check out this book, Dream Magic: Change Your Reality Through the Liminal World of Sleep. Now, liminal, that is the space between for anybody who doesn't know what liminal means. It's that magical in between spot. So what do you have coming up? Anything coming up that we want
Yes.
to talk about?
Yes. So I have, I'm speaking at Paganicon in March about underworld dreaming, and also about the nine muses of Greek mythology and working with them in magic. And then towards the end of the month, I'm speaking, I'm sorry, about dream magic as well at the Sacred Space Conference in Maryland. And then I have contracts with Llewellyn for 2 more books. The first one's going to be on Medusa and working with Medusa, especially in our current society. And then the second one is going to be on the 9 Muses. But I hope to continue to do more presentations on dreaming. There seems to be a lot of interest and a lot of desire. So, and I love doing stuff like that.
Oh, I think that is beautiful. So you guys check her out. So how can people find you? Where can they get your books? Where can they find you if they want interested in all of your stuff?
Yes.
Like,
So
stuff like that.
yeah, so you can get my books. This book, the Dream Magic book, is through Llewellyn. My other 2 books on Persephone and Demeter were through Moon Books, which is also known as Collective Ink now. Pretty much any online bookstore and local metaphysical shops tend to have it. And then this Dream Magic you can also order online from Llewellyn. And what was the other part of the question? I'm sorry. Oh, what
do you have coming? Well, you.
Oh yes. Oh, and you were asking how to get a hold of me. So you can find me by my name on Facebook and Instagram, a lot of social media sites, and then I have a website. I'm currently revising it to make it a little more updated. But it's www.phoenix Alwyn AWEN Rising. So www.phoenixalwynrising.com. And I do occasionally put out blog posts in Pathos Agora as well.
Okay, so find her, check her out, follow her on social media. Check out this book. I just got it and I've been trying to go through it, and it's just, again, you will talk herbs and you will talk crystals and you will talk chakras. It is very, very comprehensive, but not overwhelming. It's not a spooky book because I don't like spooky, it's like, get through this. It's like, here you are, like, nice little things of stuff going on. So I highly recommend this. And thank you so much, Robin, for bringing your magic to the Witching Hour.
Oh, thank you so much for having me here. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Any last words of wisdom or anything you have for anybody just before we go?
I would just say, like I said, you sleep every night. So give it a try. Have fun with it. I think you'll be surprised, and don't expect results necessarily right away. But what do you have to lose?
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
That was great. We're going to do a quick commercial. Patty, you want to run through it? And Robin, have your book ready?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to say it's a little commercial, and we'll send it to you the night before. This week on the Witching Hour, we have witch and author Robin Korak. What are we going to talk about this week, Robin? And in 2, 3, maybe 4 lines, say your book on dream magic or whatever you want to say. It's just a little commercial.
So when will you do? You want me to say that now, or you're going to start?
I will ask you what are we going to talk about.
Oh, okay, perfect. Okay.
Rob, people are here. Do you see that we have people watching us on X and YouTube? And I kind of like it.
We do?
Yes, we do. They're talking about dreams. She had a Dominic Isis. There's Christy Cragen. There is the Wanker somebody. There is...
That's crazy.
I know, but I kind of like it. I don't know how many people. I don't even know how to tell. You might be able to tell, but I've been kind of watching them. I didn't want to, because it's not that show where we include them in it, but they're talking about.
Is interesting. Okay, I wonder if that's something. I wonder if that's something at your end that you're doing now with your Twitter, because I don't see it on my end. Anyways, we should do our commercial.
Yeah, let's do our commercial and go on. I know, because you got to go. Try to talk fast. So, all right. Hey everybody, this is Pat. Give you a minute. Hey everybody, this is Patty. Welcome to the Witching Hour. We have a beautiful and dreamy guest for you today. She is a witch. She is an author. She is beautiful. Her name is Robin Korak. What are we going to talk about this week, Robin?
Yes, so we are going to talk about dreaming, how to remember your dreams, how to interpret them, dreams from ancestors, all things dreaming, and anybody can do it.
You don't want to miss it. See you on the Witching Hour.